So we have a couple of different URLs here. We're going to map them to various different routes. First one is /settings. Now this is going to be one of those hard-coded URLs, so not much to it. It's just going to be S, which is how we begin all of these. It's going to be settings, and then we're going to map that to settings, the route. Same thing with register, same basic pattern here. Register and register the string. Article is going to be a little bit more complicated because it's got the slug associated with it. So that one's going to be mapped to article, and then we have article followed by the slug. Now we instead of username.url parser, we're going to have slug.url parser. That's essentially article.slug, and that follows sort of the same pattern of exposing only the decoder and URL parser, and not a direct way to instantiate this type so that it stays opaque. So that's the slug for the article. Then we have the editor. I'm going to try and remember, is it right? So there's new article and edit article is the name of those. And, oh, I guess it's actually, yeah, okay. So for the one where we have no argument here, we're going to call that new article. And so that's going to be /editor with no further arguments. And finally, we're going to have edit article, which is actually going to have editor followed by a slug. Okay, let's see how that looks. Great, fantastic. One more thing to note, as with all parsers, if you ever have a parser that covers the one below it, bad news, it's never going to hit the one below it. So you have to be careful with things like this, where if you have two of these in a row, as there's a little bit of danger here with editor and editor/slug, that if we had these in the wrong order, then maybe the top one might say, oh, I always match first if it's got a slash followed by nothing, and that could potentially mess us up. Now in this particular case, we're good, but it's worth noting that that is something that can happen whenever you're using one of. The order definitely matters. It's going to try them in this order. Also, that's an opportunity for an extreme micro-optimization that's almost certainly never going to make a difference in practice, in performance, but theoretically, you might want to put the most common ones at the top, just so it has to traverse through less of the list. But again, really, really unlikely to make any kind of performance difference in practice. Not something I would necessarily worry about unless you really want to and you're sure that it's going to solve a real problem.